barely half of 1% of 7th round draft picks ever touch NHL ice, and almost none leave a dent you can spot from orbit. Henrik Lundqvist shattered that math and then rebuilt it in his own image. A skinny kid from a Swedish ski village didn't just squeeze through the league's back door. He walked into Madison Square Garden, built a throne at center ice, and ruled Broadway for a decade. He out-dueled Hall of Famers, set records that statisticians still argue over, and turned doubters into disciples with one flick of the blocker. His superpower was never size, hype, or a famous surname. It was an addiction to pressure so strong that doubt became rocket fuel. Stick around, because by the end you'll wonder why you ever believed long shots have limits, and you might start spotting crowns in your own blind spots. Åre, Sweden. Population just under 3,000. Traffic lights still 0. The town's soundtrack is ski lift cables creaking in winter wind, not roaring Zambonis. A decent pair of goalie pads costs more than some families earn in a season, yet the Lundqvist twins, Henrik and Joel, couldn't imagine a day without a puck. Their father, Peter, taught tourists to carve powder down Oreskuten Mountain. Their mother, Eva Britt, folded sweaters and chirped prices in a local clothing shop. Cash was scarce, so creativity filled the gaps. Plywood shooting boards, duct tape sticks, hand-me-down skates from older cousins. One frigid afternoon, their pee-wee coach asked for a volunteer goalie. Joel grinned, shoved his brother forward, and destiny clicked like a puck off the crossbar. 8-year-old Henrik discovered he craved the view from the crease. Every mistake was yours, every miracle too. By age 11, coaches were whispering about his calm mechanics and chessboard vision. While other kids lunged at pucks, Henrik drifted patiently, reading 2 passes ahead. After dinner, the twins battled until the moonlight swallowed the puck. Whoever lost demanded a rematch at dawn. At 13, an underdog tournament etched steel into Henrik's backbone. Facing opponents 2 years older, his coach warned him to expect a blowout. 50-plus shots later, only 1 puck slipped past. The upset rippled across Jämtland County, and Henrik learned a lesson he never forgot. Pressure wasn't lava, it was ice to skate on. From that day forward, every slight became a training camp invitation he meant to steal. Gothenburg's Frölunda HC is where Swedish hockey prodigies either blossom or break. Henrik arrived with a suitcase, a pair of overworn pads, and a VHS collection of Patrick Roy and Dominik Hasek highlights. Nights in the dorm, he paused those tapes frame by frame, memorizing foot angles, glove timing, and that Hasek desperation flop that somehow looked choreographed. Then he replayed the patterns on dry land until his knees bruised purple. By 20, he posted a .920 save percentage against grown men in the Swedish Elite League and carted home his first Honken trophy as the nation's top goaltender. The very next season, he upgraded to a jaw-dropping .936, snared Honken number 2, and backstopped Frölunda to a championship. Scouts finally scribbled his name in bold, then underlined it with question marks. Too aggressive, too deep in the crease, too Swedish. Draft day 2000 rolled around, and the Saddle Dome echoed 204 names before the New York Rangers mumbled Henrik Lundqvist. 7th round, 205th overall, hockey's version of thanks for coming. Henrik taped the number 205 above his bed, his locker, even on the inside of his catching glove. He stared at it during suicides, bench press reps, and sunrise sprints. He didn't just want an NHL job, he wanted to torch every scouting report that had dismissed him as too small, too stylish, too unknown. September 2005, training camp in upstate New York. Reporters assumed the new Swedish kid would ride buses in Hartford for a season or 2. Henrik had other ideas. In his first preseason scrimmage, Jaromir Jagr barreled in on a breakaway, sold a last-second backhand roof shot, the sort that humbles rookies, and Lundqvist snared it like he'd ordered it off a lunch menu. Players on both benches exchanged raised eyebrows. Days later, the tabloids christened him King Henrik, and by opening night, he owned the crease. He closed his rookie season with 30 wins, a 2.24 goals against average, and highlight reels that hijacked nightly sports segments. Teammates swore Madison Square Garden felt different behind him. The crowd roared earlier, mistakes felt survivable, and opponents stared skyward in disbelief at least once a period. Lundqvist didn't just stop pucks. He inhaled New York's anxiety and exhaled swagger. Off the ice, he adjusted to Broadway life like a native. Morning espresso on 9th Avenue, revenue, nights out with teammates, and a growing affection for designer suits. But the style never distracted from the substance. Before every start, he disappeared into a trance 2 hours early. Headphones on, eye contact off, replaying mental film of shooters he would face. The Rangers organization quickly realized they hadn't imported a Project Goalie, they'd imported a culture shift. From 2005 to 2015, Lundqvist launched numbers that warped franchise record books. 30-plus wins 10 straight seasons. No netminder had ever opened a career that way. 459 total victories, 64 shutouts, and 61 playoff wins, all Rangers highs. He dazzled in 4 straight shootouts 1 week, denying 15 of 16 attempts with that signature blocker side flick that looked rehearsed. In 2012, he claimed the Vezina Trophy after a .930 season that left analytic models blinking. Yet hockey's gods demand heartbreak, and 2014 delivered agony in extra-large servings. Henrik dragged a roster that finished 22nd in scoring all the way to the Stanley Cup final, only to meet a Los Angeles Kings juggernaut that fired rubber like confetti. 3 overtime losses later, the Rangers bowed in 5. 1 puck, a double deflection between his pads in double overtime, haunted him so badly he sat in full gear 2 hours after Game 5, memorizing misery so it would never ambush him again. He emerged from the locker room with red-rimmed eyes and a new mission: prove greatness isn't measured solely in silverware. Across that decade, his glove save became a Broadway billboard, his post-game suits, a fashion blog staple, and his pre-game focus, an urban legend. Young Rangers goalies learned to track his eye movements in warm-ups. Veterans learned to shut up and let the king prepare. Turin, February 26, 2006. 34 seconds left. Sweden clings to a 3-2 gold medal lead over arch-rival Finland. Olli Jokinen hammers a rebound toward a yawning net. Hockey immortality if it crosses the line. Lundqvist dives, paddle flat, and robs Olympic history. The horn sounds. Sweden celebrates its first men's hockey gold in a dozen years. And Hank's save loops forever on European highlight reels. That single moment lifted him from rising NHL star to bona fide national hero. He'd add silver in Sochi 2014, stonewalling Canada until late in the 3rd period of the final, and post an Olympic shutout streak of 172 minutes that still stands. International victories turned Henrik into a global ambassador, fluent not just in English and Swedish, but in the universal language of high-pressure heroics. Each spring he returned to New York with a richer swagger, clutching a tattered blue and yellow flag that still smelled like locker room champagne. Most NHL locker rooms smell like sweat and damp tape. Lundqvist's stall carried subtle whiffs of Tom Ford Assaud and cedar shoe trees. GQ splashed him across upper right corners, Vanity Fair slid him onto its annual best dressed list, and rival players secretly asked where he sourced pocket squares. His philosophy was simple: if your tie knot can be perfect, so can your angles in the blue paint. Music pulsed through his off-ice identity. He co-founded a rock band with Swedish friends, drummed at charity gigs, and even jammed with tennis legend John McEnroe at a fundraiser. The cause mattered more than the applause. Through the Henrik Lundqvist Foundation, he funneled millions into children's hospitals, adaptive sports programs, and educational scholarships on both sides of the Atlantic. The annual Hank and Friends Gala auctioned everything from guitar lessons and signed masks to a day of fashion shopping, with Henrik as your stylist. Seats sold faster than playoff tickets, and every dollar went to kids fighting battles tougher than any shootout. Inside the room, younger teammates absorbed a master class in professionalism. Arrive sharp, work sharper, give back hardest. Late 2020 should have been the start of an encore. Free agency delivered a 1-year contract with the Washington Capitals, a final shot at the Stanley Cup he craved. Then routine tests flagged an aortic valve issue. Some days his resting heart rate spiked to playoff levels even while lacing his skates. Doctors urged immediate rest. Henrik's competitive instinct told him to push, but for once he listened to the white coats. Open heart surgery loomed, and the comeback jersey stayed folded. January arrived with hospital gurneys instead of practice ice. Surgeons replaced his faulty valve, and Henrik posted heartfelt video updates. Tubes attached, smile intact, thanking fans for an avalanche of support. Recovery meant miles of treadmill monotony and hours of cardiac scans, but the real challenge was mental, accepting the idea that the crease might belong to someone else forever. In August 2021, clad in a midnight blue suit that hid trembling hands, Lundqvist announced retirement. He thanked teammates, trainers, and even opposing snipers for sharpening his game, then paused to to wipe away tears before the cameras. On opening night at MSG a month later, the video montage rolled, and an arena soaked in history rattled so loud that even steel beams vibrated. The king walked a carpet of cheers, waved to every corner, and felt his repaired heart thump rhythmically, alive, grateful, at peace. First-year eligibility can be brutal for great players, but not for icons. November 2023, Toronto, Henrik Lundqvist, class of 2023, Hockey Hall of Fame. No debate, no delay. Under the glass dome, he thanked Peter and Ava Britt, nodded at Joel for the shove into the crease, and joked that New York traffic taught him more patience than any goalie coach. He ended with a promise, "I'll keep giving back. The game gave me everything." Retirement didn't dull his edge. He slid onto TNT's studio panel and MSG broadcasts, trading blocker saves for surgical breakdowns of stick blade angles and penalty kill rotations. Viewers discovered his dry Swedish humor, and players feared his polite critiques more than any coach's rant. By 2025, New York sports writers sculpting a hypothetical Rangers Mount Rushmore etched Messier, Leach, Gilbert, and Lundqvist. Cup ring or not, the king belonged. Meanwhile, his foundation's scholarships doubled, funding STEM programs in Harlem and Göteborg. The crease may be empty, but his influence keeps spreading like fresh ice before a shootout. Henrik Lundqvist's saga bulldozes a myth etched into prospect lists. Pedigree predicts success. It doesn't. Preparation does. Poise does. Purpose does. Number 2. 05 became a man who taught New York to breathe when the puck dropped, who turned heartbreak into habit, and who now channels fame into futures for kids he'll never meet. He weathered double overtime daggers, season-ending surgeries, and the very real possibility that his own heart might bench him forever, yet never lost the sparkle that made every save feel theatrical. So the next time someone counts you out before the first whistle, remember Ori's frozen lake, a Twins mischievous shove, and a goalie who decided pressure was the most fun you could have on 8x4 skating real estate. Armor yourself with preparation, lace your ambition tighter than any pad strap, and step into your arena, whatever it is, with Lundqvist's brand of unblinking swagger. Somewhere in the shadows of your own draft board, a crown is waiting. It's metal forged from every doubt you've ever heard. You don't need anyone's permission to wear it, just the nerve to reach out and place it firmly on your head.